Every moment you spend doubting yourself or worrying about others is time lost. Your energy, focus, and growth belong to you, not anyone else. Value promise. This video will show you how to become fully committed to your own development, master your habits, and build a life where your confidence and discipline grow every single day. Learning. You will learn practical strategies to boost self-respect, protect your time, improve your skills, track progress, and create routines that reinforce your personal power. These steps are designed to give results you can feel, see, and measure. By the end, you'll have clear, actionable methods to prioritize yourself without guilt, overcome distractions, and stay motivated even when life feels chaotic. Call to action. Subscribe to Audiobook Shift for more content that helps you build yourself stronger, smarter, and faster every day. Number 1. Build habits that boost self-respect. Habits are the daily decisions that define how you treat yourself. Self-respect is not a feeling that appears from nowhere. It is the direct result of repeated, deliberate actions that match what you say you value. When each day contains small, consistent behaviors that honor your priorities, respect for yourself grows predictably and steadily. This chapter explains how to create habits that purposefully increase self-respect, with clear steps you can use starting today. Begin by clarifying what self-respect means for you. Write one short sentence. The key behavior you want to be known for. Examples: I keep my word to myself, I move my body every day, or I finish what I start. Use simple language. This sentence becomes the standard that guides habit choices. If the sentence is vague, habit selection will be weak. Turn that sentence into 3 concrete actions you can take every day that directly align with it. For example, if the sentence is I keep my word to myself, the 3 actions might be: 1. Commit to 1 promise per day and keep it. 2. Stop scrolling for the first 30 minutes after waking. 3. Write 1 clear task and finish it before checking messages. Choose one habit to start. Do not try to change everything at once. The single most effective habit begins with a cue, a tiny behavior, and a measurable marker of completion. The cue can be a time, an existing routine, or a physical object. The behavior must be small enough that it feels obvious to do. The marker is a simple record, a check mark, a calendar cross, a line in a notebook. Example: cue, after brushing teeth. Behavior: 2 minutes of journaling. Marker: a check mark on the habit tracker. This 3-part rule, cue, tiny behavior, immediate marker, creates clarity and removes decision fatigue. Design habits around identity. Identity-based habits work because the question that follows an action changes from "can I do this?" to "who do I want to be?" Each time a habit is completed, the brain receives evidence that supports a chosen identity. Phrase commitments as identity statements. I am the kind of person who follows through. Then create micro-actions that confirm that identity. The focus is not on grand outcomes, but on behaviors that prove the identity in small, repeatable ways. Over time, identity and behavior reinforce each other. The action strengthens the identity. The identity motivates the action. Stack habits on existing routines to make them automatic. After an existing stable activity, add the new micro-action. For example, after making coffee, take 1 minute to list 3 priorities for the day. After sitting down to eat, stand for 2 minutes to stretch. After putting on shoes, take 3 deep breaths and state 1 intention. Anchor the new habit to the old routine so the cue is automatic. This method reduces friction because it uses behaviors that already have a place in the day. Make the behavior extremely specific. Replace exercise more with do 6 push-ups and 60 seconds of walking immediately after breakfast. Replace read more with read 1 page of a book while sitting at the kitchen table. Specificity removes uncertainty. When the instruction is clear, the action is simple to follow. When the action is small and specific, the chance of completion rises dramatically. Measure progress in the simplest possible way. Use a physical calendar and mark an X for every completed habit. The visual pattern of marks on a calendar gives immediate feedback and becomes a quiet, daily source of proof that you can rely on yourself. If a calendar feels too public, use a small notebook and 1 line per day. The goal is not to produce a perfect record, but to build evidence. Even brief records create momentum. Create 2 immediate safety checks to protect the habit, a restart plan that is non-punitive, and a very short recover action for missed days. The restart plan says, if a habit is missed, do not punish yourself. Instead, perform a 5-minute version of the habit that day. The recover action prevents all or nothing thinking. This reduces shame, which is corrosive to self-respect. Short, consistent recovery practices preserve momentum and demonstrate that respect is about persistence, not perfection. Use concrete rewards that reinforce the new behavior without undermining long-term goals. A reward can be a small sensory pleasure after the habit, a warm cup of tea after a focused 15-minute writing session, or 3 minutes of quiet music after a successful morning movement routine. Keep rewards simple and immediate. Avoid rewards that contradict the habit's purpose. The reward should acknowledge the action in a way that feels real and reinforcing. Create a weekly review ritual. Spend 15 minutes once a week with a pen and the calendar. Ask 3 questions: what worked, what blocked progress, and what is the single most useful change to try next week? Write 1 sentence for each. This short ritual turns busy life into a process to improve, not a place for shame. The weekly review also rewires the relationship to failure. It becomes data, not identity damage. Design your environment to reduce friction for the habits you want and increase friction for behaviors you want to limit. If the goal is to respect your sleep, place a small lamp by the bed for reading and put your phone in another room at night. If the goal is to eat well, place fresh fruit on the counter where it can be reached without effort, and remove snack wrappers from view. Environment is not magic. It is practical engineering. It affects choices every single day and reduces the need to use willpower. Form a habit contract with yourself and another person. Write a 1-paragraph commitment that includes the specific habit, the cue, the marker, the reward, and the consequences if the habit is repeatedly missed. Share this contract with one person who will ask about it weekly. The social component increases accountability and makes it easier to follow through. The contract should be bold and precise enough to be read aloud in 30 seconds. Practice disciplined self-talk, grounded in fact. Replace vague internal criticism with a clear observation and a plan. Instead of saying, "I always fail," state the observation, "I missed 2 days of my movement habit this week." Then state a specific plan. "Tomorrow I will do the 2 push-ups and the 1-minute walk after breakfast," and mark it on the calendar. This language separates behavior from identity and preserves dignity. Self-respect grows when internal speech treats the self as someone worthy of planning and correction, not harsh punishment. Use sensory anchors to make habits feel real. Notice the weight of the pen when marking the calendar. Notice the warmth of the mug after a focused session. Notice the way shoes tighten when preparing to move. These sensory details root the habit in present moment experience and make repetition meaningful instead of automatic drift. Practicing awareness during the habit keeps attention on the action and increases the psychological payoff. Keep habit goals aligned with a narrow set of values. If the primary value is clarity, choose habits that reduce clutter in your calendar and home. If the primary value is competence, choose daily practice for skills that matter. If the primary value is health, choose daily movement and consistent sleep. Too many values at once create diffuse habits and reduce focus. Respect deepens when actions consistently reinforce a small number of clear values. Plan for relapses with a calm process. When a habit fails, do not respond with self-accusation. Instead, execute 3 steps. 1. Note the exact cause in 1 sentence. 2. Perform the 5-minute recovery action. 3. Mark the day and carry on. This process prevents shame from accumulating. Self-respect is about continuing in a straight line more than about flawless performance. Set up a 30-day trial for each new habit. 30 days is long enough to form a visible pattern and short enough to feel achievable. At the start of the 30 days, commit to the specific cue, tiny behavior, marker, and reward. After 30 days, evaluate honestly. Does this habit increase your self-respect? If yes, keep it and consider extending or strengthening it. If no, refine the action or replace it. The trial approach reduces hesitancy and converts vague intention into real practice. Finally, choose one simple habit to start now. Write the cue, the tiny action, and the marker on a single index card and carry it for a day. When the cue happens, do the action. Then mark the card. This small physical act connects intention to reality. Small actions done repeatedly are the most reliable path to long-term change. Self-respect grows through consistent proof that you can be counted on. Habits provide that proof in the simplest form, a repeated action, done again and again, that matches your standards. When habits are specific, measurable, and tied to identity, they stop being optional and become part of how you operate. Respect follows. Start with one clear habit, track it, protect it from shame, and adjust with purpose. The work is modest and steady. The result is a stronger, clearer sense of who you are, built daily by the choices you keep. Number 2, track progress to fuel motivation. Tracking progress is one of the most powerful tools for sustaining motivation and building momentum in any pursuit. Without a clear record of growth, it's easy to feel stuck, to doubt your ability, and to underestimate the impact of consistent effort. Motivation is not some magical spark that suddenly appears. It is cultivated by visible evidence that you are moving forward. Tracking progress transforms abstract goals into tangible proof that you are capable of change. It turns intentions into measurable reality. When you see that your efforts are producing results, even small ones, your confidence strengthens, your sense of control grows, and your willingness to continue escalates naturally. The first step in tracking progress is to define exactly what matters. Motivation suffers when goals are vague or endless. Instead of saying, "I want to get better at my work," narrow it down. Identify one specific area of improvement that can be observed daily. For example, you could decide to respond to emails within 24 hours, complete one focused writing session per day, or practice a skill for 30 minutes every morning. The clearer the objective, the easier it is to monitor. Precision makes tracking meaningful rather than superficial. Once a measurable goal is set, determine the method of tracking. Some people respond well to physical trackers, like a notebook, a calendar, or a wall chart. Others prefer digital tools that log progress automatically or generate visual graphs. The key is visibility. You must be able to see the accumulation of effort in a way that feels undeniable. Each recorded step acts as a proof point that your work has a real impact. This visual evidence engages the mind and the emotions simultaneously, increasing your commitment. Keep records simple. Complexity in tracking is often a trap. If a system is too complicated, you risk abandoning it. A simple mark, an X on a calendar, a tally in a notebook, a check mark in an app, is enough. The goal is consistency, not perfection. Each small mark represents a completed action, and repeated actions build a clear pattern of achievement. Over time, the growing pattern of marks becomes an unshakable reminder that progress is happening, even when it feels slow or imperceptible. In addition to daily tracking, create a weekly reflection habit. Take time to review the week's work and examine patterns. Ask honest questions: what went well? Where did effort falter? Which actions produced the most noticeable results? Reflection is not about blame, it is about clarity. By consciously reviewing progress, you identify what fuels success and what drains energy. This process prevents stagnation and encourages continual improvement. It also reinforces a sense of purpose. Your actions are deliberate and directed, not random. Progress tracking should include both quantitative and qualitative measures. Numbers tell one part of the story, but they do not capture everything of value. How do you feel after completing a focused work session? Did your skill feel sharper? Did your confidence increase? Recording these impressions alongside numerical data enriches the tracking process. It gives a fuller picture of growth and reinforces intrinsic motivation. Over time, patterns emerge that can guide future decisions. Visual feedback is especially potent. Create graphs, charts, or even simple visual boards that display cumulative progress. When goals are tracked visually, the brain recognizes growth faster. A line rising steadily, a series of marks filling a calendar, or a collection of completed tasks on a board becomes emotionally satisfying. This satisfaction is not superficial. It signals that effort produces real outcomes. That emotional response reinforces the habit of working consistently. Set milestones within the larger goal. Breaking progress into smaller targets creates multiple moments to celebrate achievement. Each milestone reached is an opportunity to acknowledge your effort and boost morale. Without intermediate markers, motivation often fades because the ultimate goal feels distant. A milestone can be as simple as completing 5 focused sessions, finishing a chapter, or mastering one small skill increment. Recognizing each step as an achievement trains the mind to associate effort with positive feedback, reinforcing the cycle of growth. Integrate accountability into your tracking process. Share progress with a trusted friend, mentor, or peer. Regularly reporting progress multiplies the psychological effect of tracking. When someone else is aware of your commitments and sees your record of achievement, your internal drive strengthens. Accountability adds an extra layer of consistency because effort is now linked to both self-respect and social reinforcement. The external check encourages reliability and discourages skipping action. Use progress tracking as a tool to adjust strategy. Numbers and observations are not static, they are data. If a habit or action is consistently failing to produce results, tracking reveals it. Instead of giving up, use the information to modify your approach. Adjust the method, timing, or intensity, but keep the core goal intact. The act of refining based on evidence strengthens problem-solving skills and maintains forward momentum. Progress tracking is a guide, not a. Celebrate completion in concrete ways. Each recorded achievement deserves recognition, even if small. This does not mean indulgence that undermines discipline. It means acknowledging the effort. Simple ritual, a note to yourself, a brief pause to appreciate the accomplishment, or a short reward aligned with your values, creates a positive feedback loop. Over time, your brain links effort with satisfaction, increasing the likelihood of continued commitment. Consistency is more important than intensity. Progress is a cumulative force. Small, repeated actions outweigh sporadic bursts of high effort. Tracking makes this visible. Even when results appear modest day to day, the record shows the long-term trajectory. Motivation thrives when you witness a steady incline rather than isolated peaks and valleys. Progress tracking converts invisible effort into tangible evidence, demonstrating that daily discipline compounds into meaningful results. Avoid perfectionism in tracking. The objective is progress, not a flawless record. Missed days or partial completion are data points, not moral failures. Recognize the pattern, adjust, and continue. Treat the record as a factual map of activity, rather than a reflection of self-worth. Self-respect is maintained when tracking is an objective practice, free of judgment, and focused on results over ego. Link tracking to identity. Consider the person you are becoming. Every completed habit, logged session, or marked goal is a confirmation of that identity. For instance, someone tracking daily writing reinforces, "I am a person who writes consistently." Over time, these repeated confirmations shape self-perception. Motivation then becomes internalized. You continue because you recognize yourself in the pattern of action, not because of fleeting external encouragement. Incorporate sensory and emotional awareness into tracking. Notice the feeling of placing a checkmark, the visual impact of a calendar filling up, or the sense of relief after completing a task. These small, sensory moments reinforce the psychological effect of progress. Tracking becomes more than recording. It becomes a way of experiencing growth. The emotions attached to visual and physical cues provide fuel that words alone cannot. Finally, remember that progress tracking is a long-term practice. Motivation naturally fluctuates, but evidence of consistent effort provides stability. The record is proof that you are capable, that your goals are achievable, and that your actions produce results. By measuring, observing, and reflecting, you transform abstract ambition into concrete accomplishment. Daily logging, combined with weekly reflection and milestone recognition, creates an unbreakable cycle. Effort produces evidence, evidence produces motivation, and motivation sustains effort. When tracked effectively, progress is no longer invisible or abstract. It becomes a tangible, growing record of ability and commitment. Motivation stops being fragile. It becomes anchored in proof. By following a clear, consistent process for monitoring achievements, adjusting approaches, and celebrating success, you develop a self-reinforcing system that propels growth forward. Tracking progress transforms effort into visible success, doubt into certainty, and intention into reality. It is one of the most reliable, practical ways to fuel motivation, strengthen self-respect, and ensure that consistent effort produces meaningful results every single day. Number 3, remove distractions that drain energy. Distractions are the silent thieves of energy, focus, and time. They creep in subtly, often disguised as harmless tasks or small pleasures, but their cumulative effect can cripple progress, dampen motivation, and erode self-respect. Every moment spent on something that does not contribute meaningfully to your goals is energy diverted from what matters most. Removing distractions is not about creating a rigid life of deprivation. It is about creating a life in which focus is protected, energy is preserved, and effort is directed toward meaningful growth. The first step is awareness. Most distractions are habitual and go unnoticed until their impact is felt. Take a full day to observe your patterns without judgment. Record where attention drifts, which activities fragment your time, and when energy dips sharp. Notice small interruptions, checking your phone for no reason, scrolling social media, responding to unimportant notifications, or lingering in conversations that do not nourish you. These seemingly trivial acts accumulate, quietly eroding effective. Awareness is critical because you cannot eliminate what you do not see. Once distractions are identified, classify them by impact. Some are low-energy drains, like casual scrolling, while others are high-cost, like interruptions during deep work. Prioritize eliminating the high-cost distractions first. They are the ones that interrupt your flow and break momentum. High-cost distractions often disguise themselves as urgent or necessary, but when you examine them, you realize they rarely produce real progress. Low-cost distractions can be scheduled in controlled bursts or replaced with more meaningful alternatives. Understanding impact ensures your energy is invested wisely. Environment plays a decisive role in focus. Physical spaces can either amplify distractions or protect attention. Examine where you spend time most often. Is your workspace cluttered, filled with items that invite attention elsewhere? Are devices constantly within reach, ready to fragment focus? Begin by clearing unnecessary objects from immediate view. Create zones that cue different behaviors. One area for focused work, another for relaxation, and a separate space for incidental tasks. Clear boundaries in your environment translate directly into clearer boundaries in your mind. Digital distractions are the most insidious in modern life. Notifications, endless feeds, and constant pings hijack attention instantly. Controlling them requires deliberate action. Disable non-essential notifications on your devices. Use tools that block social media or limit access to distracting websites during focus periods. Turn off sounds that trigger reflexive responses. Even small adjustments, like muting email alerts or hiding apps from your home screen, can dramatically reduce interruption. These measures are not about avoiding responsibility. They are about protecting mental space for meaningful work. Set defined time blocks for critical activities. Deep work requires uninterrupted periods of concentration. By scheduling dedicated blocks and clearly signaling to yourself and others that this time is protected, you create a psychological and practical boundary. During these periods, eliminate access to distractions, close unnecessary tabs, silence your phone, and inform others that you are unavailable. Focus thrives under boundaries. Without them, energy dissipates on low-value tasks. Create a habit of single tasking. Multitasking may feel productive, but it fragments attention and increases cognitive fatigue. When performing a task, engage fully with it, close unrelated windows, remove nearby distractions, and focus your senses and thoughts entirely on that task. Completing one task at a time produces higher quality outcomes, faster execution, and a natural sense of accomplishment. Over time, this habit trains your mind to resist habitual distraction and builds a disciplined approach to energy management. Use sensory cues to signal focus. Subtle adjustments can reinforce attention. Lighting, sound, and seating all influence concentration. Bright, natural light encourages alertness. Gentle background sounds or silence can reduce wandering thoughts. An ergonomically comfortable chair reduces physical discomfort, allowing energy to remain in the task rather than draining into tension or fidgeting. These small sensory adjustments support a mental environment where distractions have less foothold. Assess your relationships for energy alignment. Some people unknowingly drain attention through excessive emotional demands, trivial complaints, or constant interruptions. Protecting energy means evaluating interactions and setting boundaries. Decide when and how to engage with others in ways that respect both their needs and your focus. Not every interruption requires response. Learning to say no, pause conversations, or defer engagement is a skill that preserves attention and prevents emotional exhaustion. Implement micro resets throughout the day. Even in a controlled environment, energy naturally dips and attention wanes. Short, intentional breaks, stretching, walking, or brief mindfulness exercises help refresh focus. These resets prevent fatigue from amplifying distractions. They signal to the mind that attention is a renewable resource when managed consciously, not something that must be exhausted until collapse. Track distraction patterns. Maintain a simple log noting what distracts you, when it occurs, and under what circumstances. This record provides insight into triggers, times of low energy, or habitual behaviors that fragment focus. Analysis allows targeted solutions rather than generic avoidance. You might discover that distraction peaks at specific times of day or during particular tasks, which permits strategic adjustment of workflow, environment, or energy management techniques. Redesign workflows to reduce friction. Complexity invites distraction. If a task is convoluted, energy is diverted to deciding what to do next, or seeking missing resources. Simplify processes by preparing materials in advance, creating step-by-step guides, and organizing tools and references efficiently. Clear, simple workflows reduce decision fatigue, making it easier to sustain focus and resist the pull of irrelevant tasks. Replace distracting activities with purposeful alternatives. When a habit of distraction exists, filling the void with something equally trivial is not enough. Choose actions that engage attention meaningfully and generate value. Replace scrolling through social media with reading a book, writing a journal entry, or practicing a skill. These alternatives channel energy into growth rather than depletion, transforming the time and focus that previously drifted into constructive accomplishment. Recognize the cost of distractions in emotional terms. Every diverted moment can carry frustration, guilt, or a subtle sense of underachievement. Becoming aware of these emotional impacts strengthens the resolve to remove distraction. Energy is a finite resource. Protecting it prevents emotional drain and promotes a sense of competence and control. Each act of avoiding distraction becomes a reinforcement of self-respect and personal authority over time. Practice proactive mental focus. Anticipate potential interruptions and plan responses in advance. Identify triggers, boredom, discomfort, or external pressures that lead to wandering attention. Create a mental checklist for redirecting focus, such as pausing, breathing, and returning to the primary task. Training the mind in this way strengthens discipline and reduces the automaticity of distraction. Celebrate success in maintaining focus. When you complete a block of work without interruption, acknowledge the achievement. Recognition can be internal, a brief reflection on the effort, or external, like marking completion on a task log. Positive reinforcement conditions the brain to value attention and discourages reverting to habitual distractions. Celebrating focus makes self-discipline emotionally rewarding, not merely obligatory. Create a long-term vision for energy management. Consider your ultimate goals and recognize that energy is the vehicle for reaching them. Every distraction removed is a decision to invest in your aspirations. Reframe small sacrifices as strategic moves that compound over time. Awareness that daily choices directly impact long-term results strengthens determination to eliminate low-value interruptions. Finally, embrace gradual improvement. Removing distractions is not about instant perfection, but about progressive refinement. Each small adjustment in environment, habit, or relationship contributes to a larger pattern of energy preservation. By consistently protecting focus, monitoring attention, and responding thoughtfully to triggers, energy becomes aligned with purpose, and distraction loses its hold. The process builds discipline, deepens self-respect, and fosters a sense of control over your own life. When distractions are removed, clarity emerges. Your decisions, actions, and creative energy are directed intentionally. Life becomes less reactive and more deliberate. Focus is no longer fragmented by external noise or internal habits. By identifying distractions, redesigning your environment, cultivating single tasking, and reinforcing attention with both reward and awareness, energy becomes a controlled resource dedicated to meaningful growth. Each day becomes a deliberate investment, and the compounding effect of protected attention produces results that are visible, measurable, and empowering. Number 4. Protect time like it matters. Time is one of the most valuable resources, yet it is also the most easily squandered. Every moment spent without intention is energy lost, opportunity wasted, and potential unrealized. Protecting time requires more than planning tasks. It demands a mindset that treats every hour as finite and significant. It is a practice of discipline, clarity, and respect for oneself. When time is guarded as carefully as money or health, life transforms, and progress accelerates naturally. The first step in protecting time is awareness of how it is currently spent. Most people underestimate the hours consumed by minor tasks, idle scrolling, or distractions. Track your activities for several days in granular detail, recording every 15 or 30 minutes. Note not only what you do, but also how you feel and how productive or meaningful the activity is. This awareness illuminates patterns of wasted effort, hidden drains on energy, and pockets of opportunity previously unnoticed. Once habits of time usage are visible, categorize activities based on their contribution to long-term goals. Label them as high value, low value, or neutral. High value activities are those that move you toward growth, mastery, and fulfillment. Low value tasks consume energy without producing meaningful results. Neutral activities are necessary but do not advance major goals directly, such as routine chores. Categorizing allows strategic decisions about allocation and prioritization, ensuring energy flows toward actions that matter most. Create clear boundaries around high-value activities. Schedule these periods as non-negotiable appointments with yourself. Treat them with the same seriousness you would a meeting with a client or a critical obligation. Use a calendar or digital planner to reserve these blocks and protect them from interruptions. Communicate these boundaries to others when necessary, explaining that this time is for work, learning, or focused growth. Firm boundaries create mental space for concentration and elevate the perceived importance of your priorities. Plan each day intentionally. A day without structure invites unproductive drift. Begin by identifying the most critical tasks that align with goals and energy levels. Arrange them in order of importance and estimate realistic duration. By designing a framework for the day, you reduce wasted time spent deciding what to do next. Each hour becomes a deliberate choice rather than a passive drift into distraction or obligation. Limit commitments that dilute energy. Every agreement, request, or opportunity consumes time and attention. Evaluate obligations critically. Ask whether they contribute to long-term goals or values. Learn to decline politely but firmly. Protecting time does not mean avoiding responsibility. It means prioritizing tasks that produce meaningful results. Each no is an affirmation of the value of your own time. Batch similar tasks together to minimize transition time. Switching between unrelated activities fragments focus and reduces efficiency. Group emails, calls, administrative work, or small chores into designated blocks. Batching reduces mental load and creates uninterrupted windows for high-impact actions. The effect compounds over days, creating more available time for meaningful work and personal growth. Use micro-time effectively. Even short intervals, 5 to 15 minutes, can be leveraged for progress rather than squandered. Reading a single page of a book, writing one paragraph, or completing a brief stretch contributes. Incremental viewing every fragment of time as an opportunity creates a cumulative effect that turns small moments into significant achievements. Micro-efficiency preserves momentum and prevents wasted energy. Remove external interruptions wherever possible. Turn off notifications, silence phones, and create a workspace optimized for focus. Even brief disturbances reset attention and erode energy. By designing an environment that minimizes interference, you reduce the mental cost of refocusing repeatedly. Consistency in protecting these spaces ensures that time is treated as a resource rather than a disposable commodity. Implement routines that anchor productivity. Start each day with a sequence that signals the mind that focus and meaningful action have begun. This could include a brief review of priorities, a short movement routine, or a mindfulness exercise. Routines create stability, allowing energy to flow efficiently into important tasks without hesitation or distraction. Consistent rituals reinforce a sense of control over time and reduce wasted moments at the start of each day. Evaluate the use of technology critically. Devices are tools, not masters. Use them intentionally to support goals rather than as automatic responses to boredom or habit. Limit the number of apps or digital tools that fragment attention, and schedule specific times for engagement with them. Technology should serve purpose, not create constant friction for attention and energy. This deliberate use preserves mental bandwidth for tasks of real significance. Delegate or outsource when possible. Some activities, though necessary, do not require your unique presence. Delegation frees time for higher value activities that only you can perform. Effective delegation requires clarity about responsibilities, deadlines, and desired outcomes. By entrusting appropriate tasks to others, you increase the proportion of time spent in high-leverage actions. Delegation is not avoidance, it is intelligent allocation of resources. Recognize energy cycles throughout the day. Time management is intertwined with energy management. Identify periods of peak focus and schedule high-demand tasks accordingly. Place routine or lower-value activities during periods of natural dips. Aligning work with energy levels ensures that protected time is used efficiently and maximizes output. Awareness of personal rhythms increases respect for your own natural capacities. Learn to pause before committing. Every request for attention, activity, or obligation should be filtered through a question: does this align with my goals or values? Immediate responses often lead to overcommitment. A deliberate pause allows assessment and reduces the risk of giving away time unconsciously. Protecting time is a habit of conscious decision-making rather than reactive behavior. Track time to identify hidden losses. Simple logs of hours spent versus outcomes achieved highlight inefficiencies. Data can reveal patterns of wasted effort, unproductive routines, or unexpected time drains. Awareness of these hidden losses empowers targeted intervention. Once recognized, these areas can be streamlined, delegated, or eliminated, multiplying available energy for priorities. Incorporate intentional downtime. Protecting time does not mean constant activity. Rest, reflection, and recreation are essential for long-term productivity. Schedule breaks that rejuvenate focus and creativity. Protected rest reduces burnout, allowing the mind to operate at maximum efficiency during active periods. Treating rest as important ensures that time is not consumed unknowingly by fatigue-driven inefficiency. Create boundaries around communication. Unplanned messages and calls are frequent sources of time erosion. Designate specific windows for checking messages or responding to correspondence. Outside these windows, communication is paused and less critical. This structure reduces fragmentation of attention and allows larger blocks of uninterrupted time. Communication becomes a tool rather than a constant distraction. Reflect weekly on time usage. Assess what worked, what drained energy, and what could be optimized. Adjust routines, schedules, and priorities based on observed patterns. Regular reflection prevents drift and reinforces accountability. Without reflection, protection of time remains theoretical. Reflection turns intention into evidence-based improvement. Guard transitions between activities. Shifting focus consumes cognitive energy and creates opportunities for distraction. Use brief rituals to mark the end of one task and the start of another. This could be as simple as a few deep breaths, a quick review of goals, or clearing the workspace. Ritualized transitions protect attention and preserve the momentum built in prior efforts. Recognize the value of small moments. Even brief pauses, when consciously protected, accumulate meaningfully. Waiting in line, commuting, or moments before sleep can be used for reading, reflection, planning, or skill practice. Treat these periods as assets, rather than wasted time. Respecting micro moments adds to the total investment of energy and progress. Finally, internalize the principle that time is non-renewable. Unlike money or material possessions, lost time cannot be recovered. Every decision to engage or allow intrusion carries a cost. By treating time as sacred, you cultivate discipline, clarity, and respect for your own life. Each day becomes an opportunity to make deliberate choices, invest in meaningful actions, and move closer to long-term goals. When time is protected consistently, life becomes intentional, energy is preserved, and achievements compound naturally. Number 5. Create routines that shape confidence. Confidence is not a sudden feeling that appears without preparation. It is a product of repeated actions that prove to yourself that you are capable, disciplined, and reliable. The habits you perform daily, the structure of your days, and the consistency with which you approach challenges all shape the way you perceive yourself. Routines are the scaffolding of confidence, providing predictable structures that reinforce competence, control, and self-trust. By deliberately designing routines, you create repeated experiences of mastery that gradually transform self-doubt into assuredness. Start by recognizing the areas where confidence feels weakest. Identify moments when hesitation, fear, or uncertainty tends to emerge. It may be in professional tasks, social interactions, physical performance, or personal projects. Once these areas are defined, routines can be crafted specifically to reinforce skill, presence, and self-assurance in those contexts. The goal is not to eliminate all challenges, but to prepare for them so that you respond with clarity rather than fear. Create morning rituals that set a tone of competence. Begin each day with intentional actions that signal to your mind that you are disciplined and proactive. This could involve physical exercise, a brief planning session, or a focused period of skill practice. The key is repetition and consistency. When you start each day with actions that demonstrate control and capability, you prime your mind for confidence throughout the day. Routines act as proof that you can execute commitments reliably. Incorporate incremental skill building into daily life. Confidence grows through competence, and competence is built step by step. Choose small, manageable actions that challenge you just beyond current ability. Performing them consistently provides repeated evidence of progress. For example, practicing a presentation for 5 minutes each morning, or tackling one challenging work task at a fixed time daily, creates a feedback loop. Effort produces improvement, improvement produces proof, and proof reinforces belief in your abilities. Set predictable patterns for decision-making. Uncertainty and indecision often undermine confidence. By establishing routines that guide your choices, you reduce the mental friction of constant evaluation. This could include morning reviews of priorities, standardized work sequences, or predetermined strategies for recurring challenges. When decision-making becomes structured, confidence emerges naturally because you are less likely to doubt your actions in the moment. Routine creates reliability, and reliability breeds self-trust. Anchor confidence routines in sensory experience. Incorporate cues that reinforce presence and alertness. This might be standing tall, taking deliberate breaths before tackling a task, or preparing a consistent workspace. Sensory anchors reinforce mental states, helping the body and mind align with feelings of capability. When these anchors are repeated within a routine, they become automatic triggers for confidence in critical situations. Document small wins daily. Keep a journal or log where each accomplishment, however minor, is recorded. Completing tasks, practicing skills, and following through on intentions all become visible proof of capability. Reviewing these entries regularly strengthens self-belief by highlighting repeated successes rather than focusing on perceived failures. Confidence thrives when it is grounded in a continuous record of accomplishment. Incorporate reflection rituals. Take time each evening to review actions taken during the day Analyze what was executed well, and identify moments of hesitation. Reflection transforms experience into insight, showing you patterns of strength and areas for improvement. This structured review prevents anxiety from accumulating and turns past experiences into tools for building future confidence. Regular reflection ensures that routines are purposeful rather than mechanical. Use routines to normalize challenges. Confidence is tested when unexpected difficulties arise. By integrating small, controlled challenges into daily practice, you condition your mind to handle stress without panic. For example, deliberately addressing minor uncomfortable situations or taking brief public speaking exercises within a safe routine teaches adaptability. Repetition in controlled conditions builds a stable foundation that extends to unpredictable circumstances, reducing fear and uncertainty. Leverage physical movement within routines. Physical activity has a direct effect on mental states and perceived capability. Consistent exercise routines, whether stretching, strength training, or focused skill practice, signal discipline and self-respect. Movement routines also enhance posture, energy, and alertness, all of which contribute to the external presentation of confidence. When physical habits are regular, the body aligns with the mind, creating coherence between inner belief and outward demeanor. Structure social preparation into routines. Confidence in interactions is strengthened when preparation is habitual. This may include brief daily reviews of conversation topics, practicing concise expressions of ideas, or rehearsing responses to anticipated questions. Regular rehearsal transforms potential stress into practiced readiness. By creating predictable preparation habits, you reduce anxiety and increase certainty in your social and professional engagement. Ritualize self-affirmation through action. Confidence is reinforced by repeated evidence, not empty statements. Incorporate actions into routines that demonstrate your competence. Finishing a challenging task first thing in the morning, completing a set of exercises, or mastering a small skill increment. Each completed action serves as a mini proof of capability, gradually shaping a self-perception of competence and reinforcing the belief that you can rely on yourself. Time blocking reinforces reliability, creates structured periods for specific activities, such as skill practice, learning, or focused work. Consistency and timing reduces mental friction and builds a rhythm that signals competence. The brain begins to anticipate productivity and preparation during these periods, which fosters automatic readiness. Over time, this predictability nurtures a confident mindset because you know that essential tasks will be managed with discipline. Integrate mental rehearsal in routines. Spend brief moments envisioning successful execution of tasks before engaging in them. Visualizing action steps and desired outcomes primes the brain for effective performance. When this is practiced regularly, the mind becomes accustomed to success, reducing fear of failure. Mental rehearsal within structured routines conditions the mind to approach tasks with composure and clarity. Introduce progressive challenges deliberately. Start with manageable steps, then increase difficulty gradually within routine practices. Success in small increments compounds into belief in the ability to handle larger tasks. Each progression serves as measurable evidence of growth, reinforcing confidence. A routine that systematically escalates challenges trains both skill and self-assurance. Protect routines from external interruptions. Unplanned demands, distractions, or deviations can undermine the psychological benefits of consistent practice. Establish clear boundaries for routine times and communicate them when necessary. A protected routine signals to the mind that these periods are dedicated to competence building, reducing anxiety and reinforcing trust in your own consistency. Celebrate adherence to routines. Acknowledge completion of routine actions, especially when discipline is maintained under challenging conditions. Celebration does not require extravagance. Even a moment of recognition or noting it in a log strengthens the emotional association between action and positive reinforcement. Repeated recognition enhances motivation and signals to the mind that effort leads to tangible acknowledgement, reinforcing confidence over time. Examine the cumulative effect of routines weekly. Review how daily patterns have influenced skill, self-perception, and outcomes. Identify areas for refinement, ensuring routines continue to challenge, support, and reinforce confidence. Weekly assessment transforms routine from automatic repetition into purposeful growth, guaranteeing that actions remain aligned with the goal of increased self-assurance. Ensure routines are aligned with personal values. Confidence is strongest when actions reflect genuine priorities, rather than imposed expectations. Aligning habitual actions with core values reinforces self-respect and authenticity, which are critical components of genuine confidence. When routines serve meaningful goals, energy is preserved, and effort feels worthwhile, magnifying the impact on self-belief. Finally, understand that confidence is built layer by layer. It is not instantaneous, but emerges through repeated, deliberate action that consistently proves capability. By designing routines that include skill practice, reflection, preparation, physical activity, and incremental challenges, you create a structured path towards self-trust. The repeated evidence from these routines reshapes perception, transforming uncertainty into assurance. Each day of disciplined practice adds a layer of proof, and over time, confidence becomes a natural, stable state rather than a fleeting emotion. Number 6. Set standards you actually follow. Standards define the boundaries of who you are and how you operate in the world. They are not just ideals written in the air. They are commitments to yourself that guide behavior, decisions, and priorities. Setting standards without the discipline to follow them creates internal conflict, wasted energy, and diminished self-respect. True power comes when the standards you establish are realistic, actionable, and consistently observed. They are the framework through which self-trust and personal authority develop. Begin by examining the areas of life where standards are weakest or most inconsistent. Identify recurring moments of compromise or self-neglect. These are the places where low standards or the failure to uphold them erode confidence and progress. Be honest in this assessment. Record specific situations, missed commitments, poor quality work, unproductive habits, or lapses in integrity. Understanding these weak points is critical because standards are only meaningful when applied to real-life circumstances, not abstract ideas. Define standards that are concrete and observable. Avoid vague statements like "I should be more disciplined" or "I should eat better." Replace them with precise behaviors that can be consistently performed and evaluated. For instance, "I will prepare meals at home at least 5 times a week," or "I will dedicate 2 focused hours to skill development daily, without interruption." Clarity eliminates ambiguity and allows standards to guide action rather than remain aspirational. Prioritize a limited number of standards at first. Attempting to uphold too many high expectations simultaneously leads to burnout and inconsistency. Choose the areas that will produce the most immediate impact on your sense of competence, control, and self-respect. By focusing on a few core standards, you create a strong foundation of consistent behavior that reinforces identity and self-discipline. Expansion can follow once initial standards are solidified. Develop accountability mechanisms to support adherence. Write down your standards and track them daily. Simple checklists, journals, or digital logs provide evidence of compliance and highlight areas of improvement. Accountability may also include a trusted friend, mentor, or peer who asks for progress updates. External visibility adds structure, ensuring standards are not easily compromised or forgotten under pressure. Establish consequences and rewards tied to standards. Consistency is strengthened when standards carry tangible meaning. Consequences might include additional work to make up for lapses, or a personal reflection period to assess what went wrong. Rewards can be as simple as acknowledging success, taking a short break, or experiencing the satisfaction of completing a challenging task. Both consequences and rewards reinforce the significance of the standard and link behavior to immediate feedback. Apply standards gradually, building momentum through repeated success. Attempting radical transformation all at once often leads to failure and discouragement. Instead, identify 1 or 2 standards to uphold initially, perform them consistently, and observe the result. Once the initial standards become habitual, introduce additional ones. This layered approach creates sustainable growth and prevents the erosion of confidence due to unrealistic expectations. Examine the alignment of standards with values. Standards that reflect genuine priorities resonate more strongly and are easier to follow. Standards imposed by external pressures or social expectations may feel burdensome, creating resistance. When a standard embodies personal values, such as honesty, diligence, or health, adherence becomes an affirmation of identity rather than an external requirement. Alignment ensures that standards are motivating rather than draining. Anticipate challenges and plan responses. Every standard will encounter situations where following it is difficult. Predict potential obstacles and design strategies to overcome them. For example, if a standard involves consistent exercise, plan for alternative routines when travel or scheduling conflicts arise. If a standard is focused on mental clarity, identify techniques to maintain focus during unavoidable interruption. Preparation ensures that standards remain attainable even under pressure. Create visual reminders of standards. Written statements, posted affirmations, or checklist boards act as constant cues to maintain behavior. Seeing standards in physical form reinforces their presence in daily life and reduces reliance on memory alone. Visual reinforcement helps the brain internalize expectations, making adherence more automatic over time. Reflect regularly on the results of following standards. Periodically assess whether the standards are producing the desired outcomes in confidence, capability, or well-being. Adjust standards if they are too lenient or unrealistically strict. Reflection prevents standards from becoming rigid obligations that no longer serve personal growth. Evolving standards ensures continued relevance and effectiveness. Integrate standards into routines so they are habitual rather than optional. The more a standard is embedded in the daily structure, the less cognitive effort is required to follow it. For instance, a standard of focused morning work can be integrated into a routine of waking, preparing, and starting a specific task. When standards are routine, adherence becomes automatic, reducing resistance and strengthening self-discipline. Separate standards from fluctuating emotions. Confidence and motivation may vary daily, but standards are commitments that transcend temporary moods. Train the mind to uphold standards even when energy is low or circumstances are inconvenient. This separation reinforces reliability and develops a stable foundation of self-respect, independent of fleeting feelings. Use micro-commitments to build consistency. Break larger standards into small, specific actions that can be completed daily. For example, a standard of improving physical fitness can be reduced to a daily 10-minute exercise session, gradually increasing over time. Micro-commitments ensure frequent reinforcement, creating momentum and tangible proof of adherence. Avoid the trap of over-justification. Following a standard should not rely on constantly reevaluating its worth or waiting for optimal conditions. Discipline is built by execution, not by negotiation with oneself. Committing to action regardless of circumstance trains reliability and strengthens the internal authority of the standard. The act of consistent adherence creates evidence of capability and builds self-trust. Protect standards by managing environmental triggers. Remove temptations or conditions that make adherence difficult. For example, if a standard involves focused work, clear the workspace of distractions. If it involves healthy eating, prepare meals in advance and remove unhealthy options. Controlling the environment reduces resistance and makes compliance a matter of ease, rather than constant struggle. Incorporate reflection on deviations. When a standard is not met, analyze the situation calmly. Identify the specific cause and create a plan to prevent recurrence. Avoid shame or self-criticism, focusing instead on practical adjustments. Viewing lapses as information rather than failure preserves self-respect and supports long-term consistency. Anchor standards to identity. Internalize them as defining characteristics rather than external expectations. For example, rather than stating "I will exercise regularly," reframe it as "I am someone who honors my body through consistent movement." When standards are tied to identity, adherence reinforces self-perception, making actions feel natural and confidence-building. Gradually increase expectations once consistency is proven. Start with standards that are challenging but achievable. After repeated success, raise the bar incrementally. This prevents stagnation and continues growth without overwhelming the system. Each step builds evidence of capability, reinforcing both confidence and motivation. Maintain balance and standards. Avoid extremes that lead to unsustainable pressure. Standards should challenge without creating chronic stress or fear of failure. Practical standards are demanding yet achievable, producing consistent improvement without eroding mental or physical resources. Balance ensures that adherence strengthens rather than depletes energy and focus. Finally, recognize that the power of standards lies in the action of following them. Aspirational statements alone have no effect. True self-respect, competence, and authority emerge from consistent practice. By setting standards that are specific, aligned with values, supported by environment, and executed daily, you create a life of intentionality. Each fulfilled standard reinforces trust in yourself, develops discipline, and establishes a foundation upon which growth, confidence, and success are built. Adherence to meaningful standards transforms ambition into observable reality, shaping a character defined by reliability, integrity, and self-respect. Number 7. Improve skills through daily practice. Mastery is never accidental. Every skill, no matter how natural it may seem in others, is the product of consistent, deliberate practice. Improvement does not come from fleeting bursts of effort or occasional engagement. It comes from a daily commitment to focused, purposeful action. When skill development is treated as a priority, integrated into everyday, growth becomes inevitable, and competence evolves into confidence. The first principle of skill improvement is consistency. A single hour of intense focus is valuable, but repeated hours over weeks, months, and years create transformation. Consistency builds neural pathways, strengthens muscle memory, and reinforces mental patterns that make actions more automatic, accurate, and effective. Daily practice, even in small doses, compounds exponentially, producing results that are visible, measurable, and last. Define the skill you want to develop with precision. General goals like "I want to get better at writing" or "I want to improve in fitness" are too vague. Break the skill into specific, measurable components. Writing could involve sentence structure, vocabulary, clarity of ideas, and storytelling ability. Fitness might involve strength, endurance, mobility, and technique. The clearer the skill is defined, the more effectively daily practice can be structured to produce progress. Set a fixed time for practice each day. Embedding practice into a specific time slot ensures that it becomes habitual rather than optional. Morning hours, when energy and focus are highest, are ideal for cognitively demanding tasks, while physical skills might benefit from afternoon or evening sessions. The brain and body thrive on routine, and dedicated scheduling ensures that skill development is treated as a non-negotiable priority. Begin each session with intention. Before starting, clarify what you will accomplish and how you will approach it. Intention transforms practice from a repetitive task into a deliberate exercise in improvement. For example, you may focus on writing compelling introductions or on perfecting a specific weightlifting technique. When intention guides practice, each repetition serves a clear purpose, maximizing growth and preventing wasted effort. Focus on quality over quantity. Repetition alone is insufficient. It must be deliberate. Mindless repetition ingrains errors just as easily as it develops skill. Engage fully with each attempt, paying attention to precision, execution, and feedback. When practice is deliberate, improvement is not random. It is structured, measurable, and sustainable. Each session becomes a step toward mastery rather than a ritual of motion. Track progress meticulously. Record outcomes, observations, and improvements in a journal or digital log. Document what worked, what failed, and what adjustments are needed. Over time, the record provides tangible evidence of growth, highlights patterns, and identifies areas requiring additional focus. Tracking transforms abstract improvement into measurable, motivating results, reinforcing the habit of daily practice. Seek feedback continuously. Improvement accelerates when errors are identified and corrected. Feedback can come from mentors, peers, coaches, or self-assessment. Objective evaluation helps prevent stagnation and ensures that daily effort produces meaningful results, rather than reinforcing ineffective habits. Learning to embrace feedback as a tool rather than criticism strengthens resilience and self-awareness. Break complex skills into smaller components. Mastery is rarely achieved in one overwhelming step. Divide the skill into manageable segments and practice each segment repeatedly before integrating them into the whole. This method ensures mastery of fundamentals, reduces frustration, and allows progress to be measured in incremental milestones. Each completed segment becomes a confidence-building achievement, motivating continued effort. Incorporate repetition with variation. Practicing the same skill in slightly different contexts enhances adaptability and understanding. Variation prevents stagnation and encourages deeper mastery. For instance, a musician may practice a piece at different tempos, keys, or dynamics, while a writer might explore various styles or audiences. Controlled variation strengthens competence and prepares the skill to perform under diverse circumstances. Use reflection as part of practice. After each session, pause to evaluate what was effective, what felt challenging, and what requires more focus. Reflection transforms effort into insight, ensuring that practice is intelligent and directed rather than merely repetitive. Over time, reflection sharpens self-awareness and enables more efficient learning. It also provides a sense of accomplishment, reinforcing the value of daily commitment. Introduce incremental challenges. Daily practice should push slightly beyond current ability, creating a zone of productive difficulty. If practice is always comfortable, growth stagnates. Challenging tasks promote adaptation, resilience, and confidence in your ability to handle increasingly complex situations. Gradual escalation ensures that improvement is sustainable and consistently rewarded. Create an environment conducive to focus. Minimize distractions, organize tools, and design a space that signals readiness for practice. Physical and mental environments significantly affects performance. When surroundings support focus, energy is preserved, and practice becomes more efficient. Environmental consistency reinforces the habit, signaling the mind that it is time for concentrated effort. Integrate micro-practice sessions. Even brief periods of focused effort, when repeated daily, contribute meaningfully to skill development. 5 to 10 minutes of intense, deliberate practice can accumulate into substantial progress over time. Micro-practice is especially effective for maintaining consistency on busy days, ensuring that momentum is never lost. Small, repeated actions compound into significant growth. Celebrate small improvements. Recognition of incremental progress strengthens motivation and reinforces the habit of daily practice. Each refined technique, each clearer sentence, or each additional rep is evidence of capability. Acknowledging progress prevents discouragement, fosters pride, and encourages continued engagement. Celebrating achievement is a psychological reinforcement that binds discipline and satisfaction. Develop routines around preparation and recovery. Mastery is supported by the processes that surround direct practice. Warm-ups, mental preparation, and post-practice reflection enhance learning and reduce fatigue or injury. Structured preparation allows for optimal performance during practice, while recovery consolidates gains and prevents burnout. These routines make daily effort more sustainable and effective. Balance consistency with intensity. Daily practice must be frequent but sustainable. Overexertion can lead to injury, mental fatigue, or burnout. Establish a rhythm that allows for steady, reliable engagement, with periods of heightened focus or effort interspersed. Sustainability ensures that practice remains a lifelong habit rather than a short-term burst of activity. Embrace the iterative nature of improvement. Mastery is a process of trial, error, and refinement. Daily practice inevitably includes mistakes, but these errors are essential feedback for adaptation. Viewing mistakes as information rather than failure fosters resilience and encourages persistence. Each iteration brings clarity, efficiency, and deeper understanding of the skill. Link practice to identity. Internalize the idea that you are someone who consistently improves, someone committed to growth. When skill development becomes part of self-perception, motivation is reinforced intrinsically rather than dependent on external validation. This internal alignment strengthens both consistency and the quality of effort. Use sensory and emotional awareness to enhance practice. Pay attention to how your body, mind, and emotions respond during training. Adjust timing, technique, and intensity to optimize engagement. Mindful awareness accelerates learning, making each session more effective. Connecting emotionally to the purpose of practice strengthens investment and persistence. Integrate practice into daily life seamlessly. Embed skill development into natural routines, like using commute time for mental rehearsal or morning periods for creative exercises. When practice becomes woven into habitual life patterns, consistency is maintained with minimal friction. The integration ensures that development is not an isolated task, but a natural component of daily existence. Finally, understand that daily practice is the engine of growth. Small, deliberate, consistent actions accumulate into mastery over time. The combination of intention, reflection, feedback, variation, and perseverance transforms potential into tangible skill. Through daily practice, competence becomes visible, confidence emerges naturally, and self-trust solidifies. Continuous, focused engagement is not optional. It is the essential mechanism through which ability is cultivated and an ends becomes achievable. Number 8. Limit access to negative people. The people we allow into our lives have a direct impact on our energy, focus, and self-perception. Negative influences, whether they manifest as constant criticism, doubt, unnecessary drama, or pessimism, can quietly erode confidence, distort priorities, and sap motivation. Limiting access to these individuals is not about isolation or judgment. It is about protecting the mental and emotional space required for growth, clarity, and self-mastery. The ability to manage who has influence over your life is a critical skill for anyone committed to personal development. The first step is awareness. Observe the people you interact with regularly and evaluate the emotional and mental impact of those interactions. Notice patterns. Who leaves you feeling drained, anxious, or uncertain? Who consistently diminishes your enthusiasm or challenges your confidence without constructive intent? Awareness allows you to identify which relationships are supportive and which are detrimental. This is not about labeling people as inherently bad, but about recognizing behaviors that interfere with your well-being. Establish boundaries with precision. Boundaries are the mechanisms through which you regulate access to your energy and attention. Decide what behavior is acceptable, what topics are off-limits, and how much time you will spend with individuals who exhibit negativity. Communicate these boundaries clearly, calmly, and consistently. For example, limit time spent discussing complaints, avoid engagement in gossip, or set specific durations for social interactions that may be emotionally taxing. Boundaries are not punitive. They are protective structures that allow relationships to exist without compromising personal growth. Evaluate the necessity of each relationship. Some interactions are unavoidable, such as colleagues, family, or professional contacts. In these cases, limit the exposure to negative behavior by creating intentional frameworks. Meet in neutral settings, keep conversations focused on practical topics, and avoid deep engagement in emotionally draining areas. Control the structure and timing of interactions to minimize the opportunity for negativity to infiltrate your mindset. Reduce passive exposure. Social media, group chats, and online communities often perpetuate negativity through constant criticism, arguments, or fear-based content. Evaluate digital interactions critically. Unfollow or mute accounts that consistently bring anxiety or self-doubt. Remove yourself from environments that distract from purpose or inject unnecessary stress. Digital boundaries are as critical as in-person ones because repeated exposure, even indirectly, affects mental energy and focus. Prioritize relationships that energize and inspire. Intentionally cultivate connections with people who motivate, challenge constructively, or model behaviors aligned with your values. Positive influences provide encouragement, perspective, and accountability, reinforcing personal standards and aspirations. By investing in uplifting relationships, your environment becomes a source of reinforcement rather than depletion, amplifying growth and confidence. Learn to disengage politely. Not every relationship can or should be terminated abruptly, but it is possible to minimize influence without confrontation. Limit availability, redirect conversations, and avoid emotional entanglement. When necessary, be honest about the need for distance. framing it as a personal requirement rather than a judgment on the other person. Thoughtful disengagement preserves energy and reduces stress, while maintaining civility. Reinforce self-trust through decision-making. Limiting access to negative people is as much about internal confidence as external behavior. Trust your judgment regarding who belongs in your mental and emotional space. Rely on your assessment of impact rather than guilt, obligation, or fear of social rejection. Each decision to prioritize your well-being strengthens self-respect and reduces susceptibility to external negativity. Set clear criteria for influence. Define what behaviors you will tolerate and what undermines growth. For instance, constant pessimism, repeated criticism without constructive advice, or manipulative tactics may fall outside acceptable engagement. When standards are clear, enforcement becomes easier. Consistency in maintaining these criteria cultivates a personal environment where energy is preserved and focus remains undisturbed. Develop resilience for unavoidable interactions. Even with careful management, some negative interactions are inevitable. Build techniques to maintain composure and clarity, controlled breathing, mental reframing, and selective listening. Focus on responding rather than reacting, maintaining neutrality in emotionally charged situations. Developing resilience ensures that exposure does not translate into internal disturbance, preserving emotional equilibrium. Use routines to minimize vulnerability. Structure daily schedules so that negative interactions are less frequent or impactful. For instance, choose meeting times, social events, and digital check-ins strategically. Routines can prevent repeated exposure during high-stress periods, when energy is low and susceptibility to negativity is higher. By proactively designing time and interaction patterns, emotional well-being is safeguarded. Leverage accountability in managing relationships. Share your goals and strategies with trusted mentors or friends. When someone else is aware of your commitment to limit negative influences, they can provide reminders, encouragement, and perspective. Accountability reinforces discipline and ensures that lapses in boundary enforcement are identified and corrected quickly. Practice mental separation. Not every negative comment or behavior requires internalization. Develop the skill to observe behavior without absorbing its emotional weight. Mentally compartmentalize criticism or pessimism, analyze it objectively if needed, and release it without attachment. Mental separation preserves focus, prevents emotional depletion, and reinforces autonomy. Gradually adjust social patterns. Reducing exposure to negativity does not require abrupt isolation. Begin with small, intentional reductions in interaction frequency or depth. Observe the impact on energy, focus, and emotional state. Incremental adjustments allow smoother transitions, reduce social friction, and provide measurable evidence of the benefits of selective engagement. Encourage positive dynamics within unavoidable relationships. Influence can be reciprocal. Foster discussions that are constructive, solution-oriented, or aligned with shared growth goals. When conversations are intentionally directed toward positive outcomes, the negative tendencies of others are less impactful. Guiding interactions reduces the probability of energy depletion and reinforces personal standards for engagement. Evaluate your own contributions to negativity. Self-reflection is essential. Identify whether your reactions, participation, or communication patterns unintentionally amplify pessimism or conflict. Adjusting your approach improves relational dynamics and sets a standard for the quality of interaction you accept. By controlling your input, you influence outcomes and reduce unnecessary emotional turbulence. Use visualization to maintain boundaries. Mentally rehearse scenarios where you limit engagement with negative behavior. Visualizing conversations, responses, or strategic disengagement strengthens preparedness and reduces stress when faced with challenging interactions. Mental rehearsal primes confidence, ensuring standards are upheld consistently. Prioritize solitude when needed. Alone time is not avoidance, it is restorative. Protecting periods of reflection and focus without external input allows energy to recharge. Solitude strengthens mental clarity, consolidates learning, and prepares you for high-quality engagement with others. Strategically scheduled alone time is a key tool in maintaining resilience against negativity. Observe the cumulative effect of reduced exposure. Over time, monitor changes in mood, energy, productivity, and confidence. Limiting negative influences produces measurable improvements in focus, creativity, and motivation. Awareness of tangible benefits reinforces the commitment to maintaining boundaries, strengthening self-discipline, and validating choices. Anchor behavior to personal standards. Decisions regarding access to negative people should always be framed by internal criteria rather than external pressure. Standards clarify acceptable engagement, prevent rationalization, and create a consistent framework for decision-making. When actions are aligned with standards, energy is preserved, and personal authority is strengthened. Finally, recognize that protecting your mental and emotional space is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. Limiting exposure to negativity is essential for maintaining focus, motivation, and growth. By being intentional about who has influence, establishing boundaries, reducing passive exposure, cultivating positive relationships, and practicing resilience, you create an environment that supports your goals and strengthens confidence. Each choice to manage interaction thoughtfully enhances autonomy, preserves energy, and fosters a life dedicated to progress, fulfillment, and self-mastery. Number 9. Celebrate wins with real intention. Achievement without acknowledgement loses much of its meaning. Wins, regardless of size, carry the power to fuel motivation, reinforce discipline, and strengthen self-belief. Celebrating victories with intention is not about arrogance or seeking approval. It is about recognizing effort, honoring progress, and creating a tangible link between action and reward. The practice of deliberate celebration transforms accomplishments into evidence of capability and reinforces habits that drive continued growth. Start by defining what constitutes a win. Success is often subjective, and many achievements are overlooked because they seem small or routine. Wins can be completing a challenging task, mastering a new skill, maintaining consistency in a habit, or overcoming a personal limitation. Each accomplishment, no matter how minor it may appear externally, is evidence of progress. Clear identification of wins ensures that recognition is purposeful rather than arbitrary. Acknowledge achievements immediately. The closer recognition is to the action, the more powerful its impact on motivation. When a win is celebrated promptly, the mind links effort with positive reinforcement, creating a neural association that strengthens persistence. Delayed acknowledgement risks diminishing the emotional effect and weakening the reinforcement loop, reducing the ability to sustain momentum. Engage fully in the moment of celebration. Avoid rushing through acknowledgement or treating it as a formality. Immerse in the sensory experience. Notice how your body feels, reflect on the effort involved, and allow a genuine emotional response. Fully engaging in the victory cements the connection between action and outcome, reinforcing the value of discipline and effort. Customize celebrations to suit personal meaning. Acknowledgement should resonate with your own values and desires. This could be as simple as journaling a reflection, sharing the success with a trusted confidant, taking a short walk to savor the moment, or enjoying a favorite activity. When celebrations are tailored to what genuinely matters to you, the reinforcement becomes intrinsic rather than dependent on external validation. Document wins systematically. Keeping a record of achievements, both large and small, allows for reflection and measurable insight into progress over time. A journal, digital log, or visual board can serve as a tangible reminder of capability. Revisiting recorded victories reinforces confidence, sustains motivation, and demonstrates that effort consistently produces results. Celebrate effort as much as outcome. True progress involves more than final results. It includes perseverance, creativity, and resilience. Recognize the intentionality and focus applied, even if the outcome falls short of perfection. Valuing effort ensures that persistence is maintained, while reinforcing the understanding that consistent action leads to long-term achievement. Set rituals around acknowledgement. Regular practices to honor victories, embed celebration into routine, preventing achievements from being overlooked. For instance, a weekly reflection session reviewing completed tasks, milestones, and growth moments ensures that recognition occurs systematically. Ritualized acknowledgement transforms celebration from an occasional event into a consistent habit that reinforces self-discipline and confidence. Balance celebration with humility. Recognizing achievement does not require comparison to others or excessive pride. The focus should remain internal, a sincere acknowledgement of your own progress and capabilities. Humble celebration maintains perspective, strengthens authenticity, and ensures that recognition motivates further growth rather than fostering complacency or entitlement. Share victories selectively. While acknowledgement is primarily internal, sharing successes with supportive peers or mentors can amplify reinforcement. Choosing the right audience, those who understand, respect, and encourage growth, creates additional motivation and accountability. Avoid sharing solely for external approval, as this shifts the focus from personal reinforcement to social validation. Combine celebration with reflection. Each victory is an opportunity to analyze what worked, what challenges were overcome, and what strategies contributed to success. Reflection deepens learning, highlights replicable behaviors, and transforms wins into tools for continued improvement. Intentional reflection ensures that acknowledgement also serves as a catalyst for further growth rather than being purely emotional. Use sensory engagement to enhance recognition. Physical actions such as standing tall, taking deep breaths, or smiling intentionally can reinforce the emotional impact of a win. Engaging multiple senses, sight, sound, touch, creates a more vivid memory of achievement. Sensory integration strengthens the mental association between effort and reward, enhancing motivation and reinforcing habits. Celebrate small wins consistently. Major achievements are rare. Daily acknowledgement of incremental progress maintains energy and morale. Completing a task on schedule, improving a skill slightly, or maintaining consistency in habits all constitute valid reasons to recognize achievement. Regular recognition of small steps fosters a cumulative sense of accomplishment and sustains momentum over long-term goals. Avoid postponing acknowledgement for a bigger reward. Delaying celebration until a larger milestone is reached diminishes the motivational power of each action. Small wins provide immediate reinforcement that encourages persistence, discipline, and engagement. Recognizing incremental progress ensures that motivation remains high and that effort is continuously validated. Create mental cues for celebration. Link specific actions or accomplishments with intentional recognition. For example, after completing a focused work session, pause to consciously acknowledge achievement before moving on. Mental cues condition the brain to associate effort with reward, reinforcing habits and sustaining energy levels over time. Integrate celebration into routines without diluting focus. Structured acknowledgement can occur without disrupting overall productivity. Short pauses for reflection, journaling, or brief personal rituals maintain momentum while reinforcing accomplishment. Routine celebration ensures that victories are honored consistently, preventing the habit from being neglected under the pressure of ongoing tasks. Anchor acknowledgement to personal values. Celebrate wins in ways that resonate with what is meaningful to you. If learning is a core value, spend time reflecting on insights gained. If physical health is prioritized, reward yourself with restorative movement or mindful nutrition. Anchoring recognition to values strengthens intrinsic motivation and ensures that celebrations reinforce the behaviors most aligned with long-term goals. Link victories to growth narratives. Frame each win as evidence of progress and potential. Visualize how achievements connect to larger objectives and personal development. By contextualizing success within a broader journey, each acknowledgement becomes more than a momentary reward. It becomes proof that deliberate effort produces transformation, reinforcing confidence and self-trust. Use celebration to reinforce identity. Recognize that each victory is an affirmation of your discipline, competence, and capability. Internalizing this perspective strengthens self-perception and motivates continued effort. When acknowledgement is tied to identity, wins are not transient. They become part of the foundation upon which confidence and resilience are built. Guard celebrations from external pressure. Avoid letting acknowledgement become dependent on approval or comparison. Celebrate authentically, in alignment with personal values and intentions. Independence in recognition ensures that motivation is intrinsic, reducing susceptibility to distraction, envy, or external validation that could weaken focus. Reflect on the cumulative effect of intentional celebration. Over time, regular acknowledgement reinforces consistency, resilience, and self-belief. Observing the accumulation of wins validates effort and provides a powerful visual and emotional record of growth. This reflection strengthens commitment to future action, creating a self-reinforcing loop of motivation, achievement, and acknowledgement. Finally, understand that deliberate celebration transforms accomplishments into catalysts for sustained growth. Recognizing effort, skill, and progress builds momentum, reinforces self-discipline, and strengthens confidence. By acknowledging wins with clarity, emotional presence, and alignment with values, achievements become more than temporary milestones. They become tangible evidence of capability, fueling motivation and guiding future action. Intentional celebration turns effort into a living, reinforcing practice that shapes identity, energy, and long-term success. Number 10. Study yourself to grow faster. Personal growth accelerates when it is informed by deep self-understanding. Studying yourself is not about ego or vanity. It is a disciplined process of observing thoughts, behaviors, motivations, and reactions to identify patterns, strengths, and areas that require improvement. The faster and more accurately you understand your internal workings, the more efficiently you can make decisions, correct errors, and align actions with meaningful outcomes. Self-study is the foundation for deliberate, purposeful growth. Begin by observing your habitual behaviors, daily routines, responses to stress, and interactions with others reveal patterns that often operate unconsciously. Take note of recurring reactions, decisions, and tendencies. Recognizing these patterns provides insight into automatic behaviors that may support or hinder progress. Awareness alone creates opportunities for refinement, because behaviors that are unexamined tend to repeat without question, limiting the ability to adapt and improve. Examine thought processes. Thoughts are the architects of action. They influence choices, emotions, and energy. Notice the types of thoughts that dominate your mind, whether critical, optimistic, indecisive, or solution-oriented. Record them objectively without judgment. Understanding habitual mental patterns allows you to identify limiting beliefs, cognitive biases, or recurring distractions. By mapping thought patterns, you gain clarity on where mental adjustment is necessary for faster growth. Evaluate emotional responses. Emotions are signals about needs, boundaries, and values. Observe how you react in various circumstances. What triggers frustration, excitement, or anxiety? What situations consistently produce resistance or fear? Emotional self-study illuminates vulnerabilities and strengths, enabling you to develop strategies to regulate reactions and respond, rather than react. Awareness of emotional patterns allows for conscious intervention, preventing energy loss and promoting stability in decision-making. Identify strengths and weaknesses with precision. Recognizing natural talents provides leverage for rapid development, while understanding limitations highlights areas requiring focused effort. Strengths are not merely comforting traits, they are tools for efficient action and achievement. Weaknesses are not failures, but indicators of where disciplined attention will produce the most significant returns. Balanced awareness of both accelerates progress by guiding effort intelligently. Use journaling as a mirror. Writing about thoughts, actions, and experiences forces clarity and externalizes internal processes. Journals become records that reveal hidden patterns, track progress, and illuminate areas for adjustment. Consistent reflection through writing allows for a nuanced understanding of behavior over time, providing a foundation for deliberate improvement. Reviewing entries exposes recurring mistakes, successful strategies, and the evolution of mindset, offering invaluable feedback that might be missed in daily busyness. Analyze decision-making patterns. Every choice, whether minor or significant, reflects priorities, fears, and tendencies. Study how decisions are made, what factors dominate thinking, how emotions influence judgment, and how consistent the outcomes are with goals. Identifying flawed decision patterns allows for corrective strategies, while recognizing effective habits provides models to replicate in other areas. The ability to refine decision-making directly impacts growth speed and quality. Observe responses to failure. How you handle setbacks is a clear indicator of growth potential. Do you internalize failure, assign blame externally, or seek lessons actively? Understanding your reaction to disappointment uncovers resilience levels and adaptability. By systematically studying failure responses, strategies can be developed to maintain composure, extract learning, and rebound more effectively in the future. Engage in feedback loops. Seeking honest feedback from trusted mentors, peers, or coaches provides external perspectives that complement self-study. Others can identify blind spots, reinforce strengths, and challenge assumptions that may go unnoticed. The combination of self-observation and external input accelerates understanding, ensuring that personal growth is both deep and accurate. Track energy patterns. Self-study includes monitoring physical, mental, and emotional energy throughout the day. Notice when focus is highest, when creativity flows, and when fatigue or distraction sets in. Understanding energy cycles allows for strategic scheduling of tasks, optimizing performance, and reducing wasted effort. Energy awareness enhances productivity and creates conditions where growth-oriented actions are most effective. Examine environmental influences. Study how surroundings, social networks, and daily contexts affect behavior and mindset. Certain environments may stimulate creativity, focus, or confidence, while others encourage procrastination, negativity, or distraction. By identifying environmental impacts, you can design conditions that support self-discipline and accelerate progress. The interaction between internal tendencies and external context is a powerful lever for rapid improvement. Identify motivation triggers. Understanding what drives action and what diminishes it provides insight into behavior. Note which goals elicit enthusiasm, which activities feel burdensome, and what external cues or internal reflections prompt action. Leveraging motivation triggers while mitigating demotivating factors enhances consistency and commitment, allowing growth to occur at a faster rate. Implement deliberate experimentation. Self-study is not passive. It involves testing behaviors, routines, and strategies to observe outcomes. Experiment with different approaches to problem-solving, productivity, communication, or learning. Carefully monitor results, note successes and failures, and adjust accordingly. The iterative process of trial and observation accelerates insight, refining effective practices while discarding ineffective ones. Study communication habits. How you express thoughts, listen, and interact with others profoundly affects relationships and opportunities. Observe tendencies in conversation, conflict resolution, and influence. Identifying strengths allows for intentional amplification, while recognizing weaknesses creates opportunities for targeted improvement. Effective communication is a multiplier for growth because it shapes how you are perceived and how efficiently you achieve goals. Map cognitive biases. Self-study involves recognizing mental shortcuts and tendencies that distort judgment. Identify when assumptions, overconfidence, or fear-based thinking affect choices. Awareness of biases enables conscious correction, improving clarity and reducing errors. Cognitive insight accelerates learning by ensuring decisions and reflections are based on accurate observation rather than flawed interpretation. Reflect on values and priorities. Understanding what truly matters provides a lens through which actions and goals can be evaluated. When behavior aligns with core values, energy is conserved, motivation is stronger, and growth is more meaningful. Discrepancies between action and values reveal friction points that, when addressed, produce more efficient progress and enhanced personal fulfillment. Integrate mindfulness practices. Observing thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations without judgment sharpens self-awareness. Mindfulness enhances clarity, reduces impulsive reactions, and allows patterns to emerge naturally. Consistent practice deepens insight, creating a foundation for deliberate action and faster growth. Awareness cultivated through mindfulness enables precise intervention in habits and thought processes that hinder progress. Use past experiences as data. Study previous successes and failures to identify actionable patterns. What strategies consistently produced results? What obstacles repeatedly emerged? Treat past behavior as a laboratory for insight rather than a source of regret or pride. Data-driven self-analysis turns experience into a roadmap for accelerated development. Examine personal habits and routines. Every habit either supports or obstructs growth. Study frequency, timing, and consistency of routines to understand how they shape outcomes. Identify rituals that maximize efficiency and those that create unnecessary resistance. Optimizing daily patterns ensures that effort is directed effectively, accelerating achievement and reinforcing constructive behavior. Develop a self-correcting system. Combine observation, reflection, and experimentation into a continuous cycle of improvement. Notice behavior, implement adjustments, monitor outcomes, and refine strategies. This iterative approach ensures that learning is constant and responsive, allowing growth to accelerate as feedback informs each subsequent action. Recognize emotional triggers. Study situations, people, or environments that provoke stress, anger, or self-doubt. Understanding these triggers allows you to design strategies to neutralize negative influence and maintain focus on progress. Mastery over emotional reactivity is critical for consistent, rapid development. Finally, accept that self-study is an ongoing commitment. Growth does not occur once but continuously, as understanding deepens and circumstances evolve. By observing patterns, analyzing decisions, monitoring energy, experimenting intentionally, and integrating feedback, insight accumulates into actionable knowledge. Studying yourself systematically transforms trial and error into informed action, accelerating development, strengthening self-trust, and enabling mastery over both personal and professional life. Each moment of reflection, each observation, and each adjustment compounds into faster, more efficient growth, making self-understanding the ultimate catalyst for transformation.